It's undoubtedly devastating to realize that you'll spend the majority of your life in prison, if not your entire life. Although committing a serious crime often results in life sentence, not everyone who receives one deal with it in the same way. It's important to consider the emotional and psychological costs of facing such a bleak future, even though the punishment may be justified. Hello guys, welcome to our channel. We're back with another video that would shock you. Yes, in today's video we have listed the most disturbing reactions of teenage convicts getting life sentences. There is no doubt that it's hard to imagine a teenager committing a crime, but sadly these criminals did commit these crimes, but their reactions in court were shocking. Number 1 is Seandell Jackson, who had to be pepper sprayed. Upon learning he would spend the rest of his life in prison for killing Nathan Potter, Seandell Jackson became enraged. In addition to the victim's family, he cursed out the judge as well. Pepper spray was used against him after he was tackled by court officers. A mystery also emerged when Jackson's family cursed the victim's family, as if they were responsible for Jackson's crimes. At one point in the trial, Jackson smiled at the victim's family as he was being led out of the courtroom, displaying no signs of sadness or regret. Judge Rebecca Dallett was addressed by Potter's father, John Potter, during the trial, saying, "Judge, there is nothing we can say to bring Nathan back," but he suggested a punishment that would be fitting to the horrific crime. "Can there be such a thing as pure evil?" he asked. "We think so." As a result of being sentenced to life in prison without parole, Jackson became violent and cursed at the judge. The police in the courtroom quickly responded, according to the news reporter, as if anticipating it, which they did due to the convicted killer's actions during his trial. He was restrained by officers using pepper spray. How terrible! Making this whole family, who was already devastated by the death of their loved one, the grueling torture of a trial, then to have his family verbally attack them, while their demon-spawned relative got into it physically with the guards. Number 2. Michael Swanson, who laughed and smiled. A double murder trial was underway against 18-year-old Michael Swanson. His crimes started by killing a store clerk during a robbery, then he repeated them elsewhere. In the aftermath of his conviction, Swanson laughed. With both middle fingers extended, the 18-year-old smiled. Shayla Myers, a convenience store clerk, was shot in the face, killing her, but he was unaware of the consequences of his actions. Neither of those things seemed to faze him. A jury convicted Swanson for Myers' murder less than an hour after finding him guilty of first-degree murder and first-degree robbery. When the defendant shot and killed her on November 15, 2010, defense lawyer Charles Kenville rejected his argument that the defendant was insane and didn't know right from wrong. A grin spread across Swanson's face as he swiveled in his chair. The family of Myers, including her 37-year-old husband Roger and daughters Mandy and Robin, showed little reaction to the trial as they have throughout its duration. As the judge announced Swanson would spend his life behind bars, the condemned teen began smiling. Though it's hard to see how the judge's threat would have meant much, he threatened to give him even more time. Shocking? Yes, it is. If this case shocked you, let's continue with the next one. This case is unbelievable. Third one on our list is Danta Wright, who thought it was a joke. During murder trials, families and loved ones of victims often read impact statements. The family of Jordan Clee, who was slain by Danta Wright, was sharing their feelings, while he smiled and attempted to restrain himself from laughing during his sentencing hearing. Wright informed his family that he would soon be back home after the impact hearing. His sentence for the crime was 25 to 50 years. David Swartz gave prosecutors time to reconsider their plea and sentence agreement for 25 to 52 years in prison after seeing Danta Wright, 17, grin, while the mother of slain Pioneer High School student Jordan Clee wept. Watching you sit there, smile and laugh and shake your head like this was no big deal. I'm very tempted to just say I'm not going to accept this sentence agreement, Swartz said, noting he's never rejected a plea deal before. We'll go to trial, and if you're convicted of felony murder, you'll go to prison for the rest of your life," he said. "That means you'll die there. That's what I'm tempted to do." During Monday's victim impact statement, Wright smiled and shook his head, seemingly encouraged by a loved one in the courtroom. Fourth one is Dexter Johnson, who threw a chair. Following the death sentence of Dexter Johnson in 2007, the courtroom collapsed. Despite an established criminal career at 19, Johnson's last straw was the murder and rape of Maria Aparis, as well as a crime spree with 2 accomplices. Police had to subdue a young man condemned to death after he hurled his chair in anger, triggering relatives to plead for mercy in a Harris County courtroom. He was taken away on stretchers after 2 relatives of 19-year-old Dexter Johnson collapsed in the hall. Moaning and almost breathless, Johnson's toddler daughter's young mother lay on the floor. As the courtroom drama unfolded, the presiding judge comforted many in the audience, including the parents of the woman Johnson raped, murdered, and robbed. His reaction to his punishment had been watched by the courtroom moments earlier. In the middle of the 3rd day of the punishment phase of his trial, he sat stone-faced, staring at the defense table with a stone-faced expression. Following the reading of the decision, Johnson gazed upward and pressed his lips together. Tears welled up in his eyes. He waved to his family and hurled the chair to the ground. Afterward, he looked at his family and lifted his hand. While others scrambled to restore order, a few officers tackled him in an instant. Several of his relatives sobbed as they left after the outburst, and a male voice pleaded, "Don't kill him!" The 2 were taken to the hospital in an ambulance. The foreman read the verdict to Johnson as he covered his face with his hands. As jurors adjourned to jury rooms, he stormed out of the courtroom. Next is TJ Lane, who wore a t-shirt with "Killer" on it. A teen who killed 3 students and wounded 3 more was sentenced to life in prison without parole while wearing a t-shirt with "Killer" scrawled across it and gesturing obscenely on February 27, 2012, the anniversary of the attack at Chardon High School, about 25 miles east of Cleveland. TJ Lane, 18, pleaded guilty. With a smirk on his face, Lane watched relatives of those killed testify in court. Despite evidence that Lane suffers from hallucinations, psychosis, and fantasies, a juvenile court judge ruled that Lane was mentally competent to stand trial last year. He told investigators he couldn't remember why he shot, but he admitted to the shooting. According to Lane, the decision to commit suicide was something he made on his own. Lane had shown lack of compassion, had no remorse, and knew he was doing wrong. Judge David Furry of the Geauga County Common Pleas Court noted in sentencing Lane, a vulgar proclamation was made by him before he gave a finger to his victims' families at one point in the trial. Last but the oddest case is Jennifer Me. Hiccup girl can commit a crime. Does this sound stupid? Yeah, but unfortunately it's the truth. On Friday evening, September 20th, 2013, Jennifer Me, Center, weeps after the jury found her guilty in her murder trial at the Pinellas County Justice Center in Clearwater, Florida. The Hiccup Queen will be sentenced to life without parole. As a result of her uncontrollable hiccuping, Jennifer Me became known as the Hiccup Girl. Me was convicted of first-degree murder Friday night and will serve life without parole. Jennifer Me, 22, was convicted after the Pinellas County jury deliberated for 4 hours. When Me heard the verdict in the Clearwater courtroom, she wept. Immediately afterward, Judge Nancy Motorley explained that life without parole was the most likely punishment. As she explained to her mother, she was charged with murder, even though she did not pull the trigger. "Because I set everything up," Me explained during the call that was played for the jury. "It all went wrong. Mom, it just went downhill." Thank you for watching. We hope you liked this video. Please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more content like this. We appreciate your support and feedback, so don't hesitate to leave us a comment or a suggestion for future videos. Be sure to hit the notification bell so you don't miss a thing.